As an employer, you want to know all about a prospective employee's qualifications. Thankfully, you can use a job application to gather the information you need to make good hiring decisions. With knowledge in hand, you'll not only be able to find the best candidate for the job, you'll be protecting your organization from a legal perspective. The job application will include sections for different types of information, such as personal information, previous employment, job skills, and education. The best job application will be simple enough for the employee to fill out without needing guidance, and easily revisable for changes in organizational need. You should use a job application if you want to determine a prospective employee's qualifications for a position, you want to compare several applications for a position, and if you want to learn about an applicant's qualifications in preparation for an interview. Depending on organizational need, there are a few different ways you can use a job application form. First, you can have a prospective employee complete it online, either at your place of business or at their leisure. This allows you to store all your applications in the cloud, in one place, for easy access for making a hiring decision. On the other hand, you can have an interviewee fill out an application by hand when he or she comes for an interview. Best practice suggests that online job applications are the most effective in the talent acquisition process. Nearly everyone who gets hired fills out an employment application, but not every employer asks the right questions. The most important thing to realize up front is that certain questions are actually illegal to ask in an application form. In general, employers should not request the following information on application forms. Employers should tread with caution when designing those application forms. It's best to have legal counsel review a form before distribution. As with interview questions, there are certain questions to avoid on application forms, such as religion, arrest record, year of graduation from high school, and so on. Let's explore some of the common inquiries to avoid in a job application form. Birthdates. Making inquiries about an applicant's date of birth can give the perception that the employer is using age as a decision-making factor in the hiring process. If federal law or the employer's state law requires a minimum age for employment for a certain occupation, then the employer can ask applicants if they're at least required to meet that minimum age requirement. Graduation dates. Making inquiries of an applicant's school graduation date can reveal an applicant's age. To obtain information on whether an applicant holds a degree or diploma, the employer can simply ask if the applicant has graduated and what degree was obtained. Religious affiliation. Religious affiliations can impact work schedules. Employers can state on an application the regular hours and days and shifts to be worked, but if it does, the application should also state that the company provides reasonable accommodation of religious practices that do not pose an undue hardship. Military discharge information. Questions that are relevant to work experience and training received while in the military are permissible. However, an employer should not ask of an applicant the reason he or she was discharged from the military or request to see military discharge papers such as the DD-214, except when directly related to the job or to determine veterans' preference. Military discharge questions could result in obtaining medical disability information on the applicant, which is protected by the Americans with Disabilities Act. They can also lead to disparate impact based on race or violation of state military discharge anti-discrimination laws. To obtain information on an applicant's military service, an employer is permitted to make inquiries on the dates of military service, the duties performed, rank during service at the time of discharge, pay during service at the time of discharge, training received, and work experience. Race inquiries. An applicant's race or color should not be asked on an employment application. Some employers may track their applicant's race for affirmative action plans or compliance with the Uniform Guidelines on Employee Selection Procedures, UGESP, but this should not be done as part of the application form. Employers normally use a separate form or a tear-off section removed from an application. This information is not to be used in the selection process and is voluntarily provided by the applicant. Citizenship. Inquiries about an individual's citizenship or country of birth are prohibited and can be perceived as discrimination on the basis of the individual's national origin. Applicants cannot be discriminated against based on their citizenship status, except in rare circumstances when required by federal contract. Maiden name, Miss, Mrs., and Miss. Many states prohibit marital status discrimination, making any questions related to this status possible evidence of discriminatory hiring practices. Social Security number. Although asking applicants for their Social Security number is not unlawful, requesting this information from applicants is not recommended due to identity theft and privacy concerns. Employers do not need this information until the time to run a background check or complete a W-4. Therefore, including it in an application carries unnecessary risk. In addition, some states require security measures to be in place if applications are asking for Social Security numbers transmitted electronically or mailed without being in a sealed envelope. Criminal history and ban the box. A growing number of states have recognized that an individual's criminal history may have little, if any, relevance to his or her qualifications for a job or work performance. Many states are passing laws that prohibit or restrict employers from making employment decisions based on certain information within an individual's criminal history, including convictions and arrests. In addition, states and local governments are joining the Ban the Box movement to limit when and how employers may question applicants for employment about their criminal history. Ban the Box refers to the checkbox on an employment application asking whether the candidate has ever been convicted of a crime. Ban the Box laws require hiring managers to put off asking about a candidate's criminal history until after an interview has been conducted or provisional job offer has been extended. Finally, in what not to include in job applications, clubs, and civic organizations. General questions about clubs, volunteer service, civil organizations, or societies, unless it's stated applicants may admit organization where the name of the organization may indicate a protected class. Again, these organizations could provide information that could be construed in discriminatory claims or practices of an employer. Now let's take a look at 4 critical elements that you should include in any job application form. Demographics. Collect necessary demographic information to ensure great communication with the applicant and a solid understanding of who the individual is. This data will be used for applicant tracking purposes and migration into HMS systems to create potential employment records for that individual upon hire. Employment and education information. It's smart to discover where your applicant has worked before, what experience they have, and who might vouch for them, also where they've attended school. Oftentimes, this section can be redundant, as many prospective employees will include a resume with much of the same information, but gathering it on a job application form itself will help you be much more organized and manage the data accordingly. Job relatedness. Application forms need to be job-related. In general, job-related content is fair game on any application form, so consider what job-related information will ensure the best possible outcomes in your selection process and use it. And finally, make a statement, if a position is at will, that employment at will applies. At will employment means that an employee can quit at any time, and the employer can lay off or fire an employee at any time, so long as the reasons don't contradict federal or state law. Now, using this information, go create a great job application form.